It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We're your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, covered breaking news, culture, matic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. This week, the Contillionaire Conference is happening in Davos. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of topics that we're going to cover. But I'm going to give you a different take. And this relates to today's title of the video. Wall Street is funding Bitcoin development. Bitcoin core developers, you heard that right. And we have two ETFs, specifically VanEck with the ticker HODL and Bitwise that are donating part of their profits. And it's not like a tiny part, it's 5 to 10% of their profits to helping the Bitcoin ecosystem, helping the Bitcoin community. And then this brings me back to a tweet that I've said many, many times, and I've kind of interchanged words in it, right? But the tweet goes something like this. It says, Wall Street thinks it will change Bitcoin, but it will be Bitcoin that will change Wall Street. You can interchange that. You could put government in there. It says government thinks it will change Bitcoin, but it will be Bitcoin that will change Wall Street. And this tweet was an inspiration from one of Max Kaiser's very famous sayings, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. So you're thinking about these, you're thinking about Wall Street, you're thinking about these NGOs, these giant organizations, right? And you would be thinking, wow, like these people are like genuinely like evil, like they want to control everybody. And maybe some individuals are Klaus Schwab, but like, I just think that the majority of these people that are going to these events and, are part of these, organizations, I just think that they want to pay their mortgage and feed their families like everybody else. But I think that you get the worst out of human beings, the worst out of humanity when you have a base layer with misaligned incentives. And of course, I'm talking about fiat. What happens when you fix that base layer and now there's an aligned incentive structure? These institutions that you would think are just out for themselves, all of a sudden, their actions, them pursuing their own greed, them pursuing their own profit, right, are actually benefiting everyone else. That is how Bitcoin works, right? People don't run a node because they just want to run a node. They run a node, right, because they want to have a vote, number one. Number two, you don't want to trust someone else's copy of the blockchain. You also don't want to dox, your balances, your addresses. You also want some level of privacy, right? That's why you want to run a node, number one. Number two, Bitcoin miners aren't just spending all this money on electricity, out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing it out of the pursuit of profit, right? Bitcoin hodlers, they're hodling and they're evangelizing Bitcoin. Yeah, okay, they love Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. But are we doing this, for charity? Are we doing this because we want to? No, just genuinely because number go up benefits us as well. So it benefits everyone equally. And what you have with the fiat system, and not to mention that there aren't no special privileges. So for example, if Michael Saylor or BlackRock or any of these institutions, if they want to buy Bitcoin, they have to get in line like everybody else. Like they don't get a special privilege. They don't get to be insiders anymore. They have to get in line and buy Bitcoin. That's it. That's how it is. Including the issuance of Bitcoin is the same thing, right? There is no special privilege. If you're a government, an emperor, a president, a dictator, if you want to mint more Bitcoin, you have to mine it just like everybody else. And that is in fundamental contrast to how the fiat system works. The fiat system, there's a bureaucratic elite that have the privilege of being able to create money for free that everyone else has to work for. And then that bureaucratic elite has friends, and those friends benefit from the money printer. That's why you have these politicians That's why Washington, D.C. is one of the wealthiest suburbs, like around Washington is one of the wealthiest suburbs on planet Earth, right? Even though you wouldn't say that D.C. is necessarily a productive city, it's a government hub, but you have to ask yourself, why is that the case? Well, the reason for that is, and why does Elizabeth Warren have a net worth of over $100 million? Why do multiple politicians have these crazy net worths? Well, obviously, because they're very close to the money spigot. And then that misaligns incentives. Politicians are not incentivized to do good by their constituents, their voters. They're incentivized to get as close as humanly possible to the money spigot. So if you separate money from state, and all of a sudden the only course of actions for politicians to raise money and to remain in power, to remain in office, is via direct taxation. And people aren't going to agree to forever wars. People aren't going to agree to these crazy social programs, right? So what Bitcoin is fundamentally doing on the base layer is it's fixing the base layer. You fix the base layer, you fix the money, you fix the world, you align the incentives, and all of a sudden these institutions that you would think of as evil not too long ago, you have the CEO of the largest asset manager in the world, Larry Fink, talking about how Bitcoin could potentially benefit people that live in dictatorial regimes. So this is what happens, right? Wall Street thinks it will change Bitcoin, but in reality, it will be Bitcoin that will change Wall Street. So this is crazy. If you would have told me this a couple years ago, that there was literally these giant Wall Street corporations that were funding Bitcoin core developers, I would have laughed in your face. But, you know, in hindsight, it's obvious because Bitcoin's incentives remain undefeated. Anyway, it's going to be a great show. My legendary co-host, he is smirking today. He's not wearing his suit. He is not dressed appropriately. Doing the show with Dom. How you doing, Dom?
Nico, what up, man? Bitcoin fixing the DNA at the core, right?
Oof, Dom, I'm dropping the fire earlier on. Opti's back on stage. I will forgive him, but I am sending.
I don't
him,
even own a suit, Nico.
I am
Come on,
sending him a notice.
I need Simply Bitcoin to buy me a suit. What are you talking about? If you want me to wear a suit, I need it on the business plan.
What are the good fashion houses? We got to get Gucci or like Hugo Boss or like one of those people to sponsor us, so we could just be all decked out every episode.
Dude,
I think we can get Armani for Opti. I think Opti's an Armani guy.
An Armani guy.
I see him as an Armani guy. Yeah, 100%.
I got some style.
Okay, I could see that. Anyways, Opti, what are we going to talk about during the culture, my friend?
Well, I have one of my favorite peoples ever on the show with us, Dom Bay himself.
Dom Bay.
And he came on, I think it might have been sometime in December. I don't know. It all blurs together. He is, would I say, founder of Proof of Workforce or co-founder, CEO? I don't know. He is trying to get pension funds and unions to adopt Bitcoin. Last time he came on, he kind of just TLDR'd us on his mission. Today, he's going to give us an update on everything he's seen and some feedback in regards to Bitcoin. So I'm excited for this one. I love having Dom on. Not only is he absolutely one of the funniest people I know, but he is, you know, he's a very serious Bitcoiner in his own right. He's doing some good out there in the world. Anyways, Dom, how you doing, brother?
You're gonna get me teary eyed. It's like remember in Jerry Maguire when he has Rod Tidwell on there and he's like, "Your mom swept the stairs of the church. You grew up tough." He's like, "You're not gonna get me, dude. Don't try to get me to cry this early."
Man. I mean, he's got the strongest mustache in the game.
No,
so.
I don't know. Steve Barber.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah.
This thing is last day. This is just for Simply, and then it's gone. So I let it ride for today, and
Dom, if I was in a fire in a building and I saw you just breaking that door with an axe in your hand in a full fire suit and whatever, I would feel extremely confident that I was in good hands.
Well, God bless you for that. You know, if you catch me on a good day, then that'll be the case. No, we're always going to get you out every time. So,
well, maybe leave Nico there next time.
Yeah. Super pumped to be on here. I see BTC is Truth asking, where's the robe? The robe got retired. You know, that was, for those that don't know, I wore the robe on the Christmas special because we dressed up with blue collar Bitcoin. Just want to answer that question there.
You guys all wore robes?
No,
No,
they weren't. Just me, dude.
Just Dom.
Dom was in a robe drinking like rosé on the stream.
No, it wasn't rosé. That was eggnog. That was spiked eggnog.
Okay.
Damn, bro. Dom, your level of swag. I think you must have the highest level of swag in Bitcoin, bro. I gotta say.
No, there's far superior. I'm just trying to keep up. I'm just trying to keep up with everyone.
A humble Dom. All right, guys. Well, it's gonna be a great show. Let's jump straight into the numbers. We got a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I made it super easy for you guys. You could scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to the Stamp Seed website, where you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their site. Remember, guys, don't store your generational wealth on paper. Store it on titanium. So get yourself a titanium Stamp Seed storage kit. Promo code.
Hey, wait, and Nico, can I jump in here?
Yeah, go for it.
Can I jump in here? I know this is still the ad read, but guys, you guys have been hitting us in the chat thinking that you send Stamp Seed your seed phrase. You do not, in fact, send them your seed phrase, guys. They just send you a kit so you can stamp your seed phrase in titanium at home. We would not ever recommend you send your seed phrase to anyone. So I've seen some people confused about this in the chat. You do not send them their seed phrase. They don't stamp your seed phrase into the titanium. You do it yourself. That's the point of the kit, is you do it at home and you Uncle Jim your friends and family if they should need help, but you do not send them a seed.
A hammer, okay, and they send you letters, and then you stamp your seed in titanium. Yeah. So, and so like when, Dom, if he's ever put in a situation where he has to rescue you, he doesn't have to worry about rescuing your seed because it's fireproof, right? Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $43,120. Sats per dollar, 2,319. Block height, 826,050. Blocks to halving, 13,950. Yeah, and someone said in the show, Roman says, never share your seed phrase. Absolutely. Never share your seed phrase. Don't take a picture of it with your phone. Literally, they don't call it cold storage for no reason. That should never see, the shining light of day. Put in a very safe place, in a safe, hide it somewhere safe. You don't want to share that with anybody. If someone gets access to your seed words, they have access to your Bitcoin. Pure and simple. Anyways, blocks to halving, 13,950. Halving estimate April 20th, 2024. Total lightning capacity 4,826 Bitcoin. Capacity value $208 million US. Realized monetary inflation 1.75%. And the market capitalization of Bitcoin, $844 billion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 6.13%. In the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin is still a tiny little baby. Anyways, back to what we were talking about in the very beginning of the show. Davos, Switzerland. What's happening in Davos? The World Economic Forum, the global elites, the so-called global elites, the leaders of the biggest corporations, leaders of government, leaders of NGOs, anyone who's anybody, the very rich and the very powerful are attending the World Economic Forum, or like we like to call it on Simply Bitcoin, the Quintillionaire Conference, because that's really what it is. Anyways, Coinbase said something really interesting. And this is the CFO of Coinbase, Alisa Haas. And it says, quote, Coinbase is a trusted counterparty. You know, we tweeted this out from the Simply Bitcoin Twitter account, and look, check out the Bitcoin white paper. I think it addresses it perfectly what the Coinbase CEO has to say. What is needed is an electronic payment system based on cryptographic proof instead of trust, allowing any two willing parties to transact directly with each other without the need for a trusted third party, right? So we're going to get to that aspect of why they're advertising, you know, a trusted counterparty, right? The whole point of Bitcoin and self-custody, which, to give them credit, Swan's done an incredible job, by the way, educating and promoting this. I think the last time I saw the statistics, it's like 80% of people who've bought Bitcoin through Swan have taken that Bitcoin into self-custody. River is, you know, promoting this as well. Strike has been promoting this. It's so crazy. The Bitcoin only companies are okay with self-custody, right? It's really the altcoin casinos, really, because that's what Coinbase is, in my opinion, you know, that are okay with this, you know, quote unquote trusted counterparty. Now, I'll let you guys hear the clip, and then I have some other things to show you, and then we'll talk about it.
What I'm really excited about is Davos will really help us with our Go Broad and Grow Deep international strategy. There's many global leaders here. There's an opportunity to talk about crypto regulation. There's an opportunity to talk about how crypto will really benefit their users and their markets, and how Coinbase is a trusted counterparty, and how we bring a different brand to the markets. And so we're really looking forward to the meetings that we have on the schedule.
So, I mean, like, again, like crypto regulation, you know, Coinbase is a trusted counterparty, right? Checking all the boxes, getting in bed essentially with, you know, toe the party line. But at the end of the day, I'll be frank with you guys. This is the separation of money and state. OK, you saw how Elizabeth Warren reacted to the ETF approval. You saw how Elizabeth Warren currently has a bill with 20 senators, essentially, that would ban self-custody, peer-to-peer, and Bitcoin mining in the United States. There's also a similar movement happening in Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin, the revolution is not number go up technology. The revolution is not you holding or buying a Bitcoin ETF. The revolution is people, individuals taking self-custody of their wealth. And by doing so, it makes it very difficult for governments to confiscate on a mass scale. We're going to go look into a historical example of that in a second. But also, it makes it very difficult for governments to continue to fund themselves on currency debasement, right? People have this feeling that it's like, yes, the U.S., we're paying for the war in Ukraine through, a tax revenue. No. Massive deficit spending. The U.S. government collects more taxes year after year, but it spends more money than it collects in tax revenue. And the way that it's able to do that is through the printing of money, which affects the lower and middle classes the most, because the lower and middle classes don't have the means to save in assets. Therefore, they do not they don't benefit from asset inflation. So usually what tends to happen is the government prints money, the stock market goes through the roof, and real estate market goes through the roof as well. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're earning and saving in dollars, you're getting poorer, just to put it bluntly, right? So the revolution is people taking self-custody. Now, of course, Coinbase is going to be very happy, acting as this custodian. They're literally the custodian for almost every single spot Bitcoin ETF. For Grayscale, the custodian is Coinbase. For ARK, it's Coinbase. For BlackRock, it's Coinbase. For Bitwise, it's Coinbase. For VanEck, it's Gemini. For WisdomTree, it's Coinbase. For Invesco/Galaxy, it's Coinbase. For Fidelity's the only one that's doing it right. They're taking self-custody. For Global X, it's Coinbase. For Hashdex, that information is not publicly available. And for Franklin Templeton, it's Coinbase. So Yeah, I mean, but here's the danger of this, guys, and we've been warning about the potential rug pull. It even says, we read you guys this a couple shows ago, it even says that one of the disclosures in the trust documents, it literally says that we don't take responsibility if the U.S. releases an executive order or something like that that says that we're going to either seize or freeze or confiscate, you know, the Bitcoin that is sitting in this ETF. And it's not that they're just going to confiscate it and say, F you, we just took your money. What they've done in the past, and if they do this in the future, what they're going to do is they're going to seize it and confiscate it, you know, for matters of national security. You know, Richard Nixon said, like, you know, to protect the dollar from speculators, whatever their BS excuse is going to be. But essentially, they're going to hand you dollars in return. So they're going to take something that's truly scarce and they're going to hand you paper of which they can print an unlimited amount of. So Richard Nixon said that in 1971, the dollar was going to go off the gold standard. His reasoning was to protect the dollar from speculators. But in reality, the U.S. government didn't have enough money to fund the war in Vietnam, right? They needed to print the money. Well, this happened in 1933 as well under FDR. His reasoning was, quote, forbidding the hoarding of gold coin, gold bullion, gold certificates within the continental United States. Now, just replace this. Forbidding the hoarding of Bitcoin within the continental United States. The reason that they were able to get away with this was because of gold's physical characteristics. I'm going to give you two examples. So example number one. There was a need to strengthen Executive Order 6102 as the one prosecution under the order was ruled invalid by federal judge John M. Woolsey on the grounds that the order was signed by the president instead of the Secretary of Treasury. The circumstances of the case were that a New York attorney named Frederick Barber Campbell had one deposit at Chase National Bank at over 5,000 troy ounces of gold. When Campbell attempted to withdraw the gold, Chase refused, and Campbell sued Chase. A federal prosecutor then indicted Campbell on the following day for failing to surrender his gold. Ultimately, the prosecution of Campbell failed, but the authority of the federal government to seize gold was upheld, and Campbell's gold was confiscated. So check this out. They indicted him for wanting to take back his property, of which the U.S. government confiscated at the snap of a finger. Do you understand that? Do you understand what's going on? Am I not making the case clear enough for you guys?
McFly.
So switch the thing, replace the word gold and replace it with Bitcoin. Oh, I had my Bitcoin with Coinbase. They confiscated it. And then when I asked for it back, they indicted me for asking for that. Now, change the situation, right? If you have your Bitcoin in self-custody and that happens, you know what's going to happen to every Bitcoiner in the US? I love El Salvador. El Salvador seems like a great place to visit this time of year. Or maybe not El Salvador, maybe another country, right? Bitcoin gives you two powers. It gives you the power to vote with your feet, but also your wallet, but only if you take self-custody and you properly secure your backup wallet seed word and of course cold storage. You know, get yourself a hardware wallet. We recommend the Passport here at Simply Bitcoin, a sponsor. Here's another example. And this doesn't even have to do with an individual. This has to do with a foreign company. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, guys. I'm sorry. Opti, you want to give that a crack? Or actually, let's put Dom on the spot. Dom, do you want to try to pronounce that?
Yeah, that's BTC Finance Corporation.
Oh, wow. I'm impressed, bro. That was pretty good. I would have butchered that. Okay, thanks, Dom. Man, Dom has so much swag, dude. I can't. I feel it. I feel it through Restream. It's crazy. Okay. Anyways, so what Dom said was a Swiss banking company. They held 1.25 million. Yeah, I said that right, Opti, I think. Yeah, 1.25 million in gold coins for business use. Mind you, this was 1.25 million in the 30s. Okay, so it's a lot more these days. The Swiss corporation, the Swiss banking company entrusted the gold to an American firm for safekeeping. And the Swiss were shocked to find that their gold was confiscated. The Swiss made appeals, but they were denied. They were entitled to paper money, but not their gold. The Swiss company would have lost 40% of their gold's value if they had to buy the same amount of gold with the paper money that they received in exchange for their confiscated gold. So, like, just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not taking self-custody of your Bitcoin, you're one executive order away from it just being gone. And then in return, it's not that they're just going to steal it. They're just going to say, here's some dollars in return, my friend. Here's some dollars. The dollars are just as good, right? And if you have the audacity to get upset about it, you're indicted because they want to make an example out of you, right? But if you take self-custody of your Bitcoin, think about that for a second, right? Think about that. Millions of individuals around the US, the most heavily armed country in the world, holding their own keys. You think the government's going to go door to door, to door, to door, to door, to door, saying, hey, give me your money because of the terrible financial decisions that we've been making in DC? That's going to be a type of different conversation. But the reason that they were able to be so successful with the 6102 order back in the 30s was because of the centralization of the custody of that gold. And ladies and gentlemen, exact same thing is happening right now with the spot Bitcoin ETF. The government literally has to knock on 3 doors: Coinbase, Gemini, and Fidelity, and that's it. It's done and dusted. So self-custody is a revolution. Keep your eye on the ball. She's saying the quiet part out loud in Davos. And I think, and this is why Elizabeth Warren would be okay if everyone's Bitcoin was custodied at exchanges. She would be totally okay with that. What she's not okay with, what government officials are not okay with, is individuals having the capability of storing theoretically millions, billions, trillions of dollars by writing 12 words. And then by doing so, their ability to take that Bitcoin with them and also send that Bitcoin to whoever they want around the world, right? That is the revolution. That's what's actually going to change things. I know I went on a little bit of a ramble, but Opti, what are your thoughts on this, my friend?
Yeah, well, first and foremost on that Coinbase clip, it's Bitcoin, not crypto. And there is a few things besides just the going to Davos to basically position themselves as a trusted third party for high net worth individuals that is concerning. And personally, I think the part in the beginning where she says, like, it's a good opportunity to talk about crypto regulations. And we've seen what Brian Armstrong has been angling in the last definitely in the last year, but of course in the last couple of years, his framing against the SEC that, like, oh, we're not really selling securities, that there's Bitcoin and all these other cryptos, like, that is kind of concerning considering what we are also hearing coming out of Larry Fink himself about, like, tokenizing all these financialization of products and all this stuff. So it is very interesting. To their credit, though, going to the belly of the beast, I guess it is looking like a most likely profitable strategy, is like, get yourself in front of all these people, make yourself seem like the trusted third party. And as we can see, it is very concerning, at least on a personal level, as a Bitcoiner, as someone that holds Bitcoin, that thinks the best way to go about this is for you guys to custody your own Bitcoin. It is very concerning that I don't know how many ETFs, I think that was like all 11 of them. It seemed like maybe 3 of them aren't using Coinbase for custody. And look, Coinbase had a huge lead in the Bitcoin space. They went down the shitcoin casino route. And so personally, it doesn't sit well in my opinion that all of that Wall Street money is going to be held by Coinbase. Obviously for their business, it's probably going to be a good look. But for us Bitcoiners out here that are just always waiting for a new rug pull, it's like, man, it could get quite concerning in the future. But shouts out to Fidelity and VanEck for switching it up and not using Coinbase. We know that VanEck, They've been in Bitcoin for a while. They seem to be Bitcoiners. Fidelity's been in Bitcoin for a long time. They drop a lot of great research themselves. So I think hopefully this is just kind of early stages in this, because it's still pretty unmature, I guess. Maybe I'm making up words here again, and everyone's trolling me about Frantran. I misspoke. Anyways,
Frantran.
I mean, I think this is what it's all about. This is why we always say that, of course, you should be custodying your Bitcoin. And before people, pick on certain threads, like, we know that high net worth individuals aren't going to be taking their corporation's balance sheet and someone custodying that Bitcoin. Like, we totally understand this, but we understand that most people that watch our show are just individuals, and what we really want to do is spread the signal that you don't have to just slowly lose your value and save in dollars. You can protect yourself today. Property rights in cyberspace, as Sailor always says: save in Bitcoin, take Bitcoin off exchanges, transact peer-to-peer, hold your Bitcoin in cold storage. This is the way to protect yourself, because I fundamentally believe what Nico said, that I just don't think it's feasible for any government to go around door to door and try to take your Bitcoin. And this is the future we're moving in. It's a sovereign individual playing out in real time. And you can protect yourself by storing your value in Bitcoin in an asset that cannot be debased. And then, of course, taking your Bitcoin into custody. And if you have a lot of wealth, then most likely going towards a multi-sig setup. Anyways, Dom, what's good?
So Walt Disney taught us about third-party custodians way back. And if you don't remember which movie, it was Jungle Book. You guys remember Ka, the snake, right? He's like this: trust in me. The eyes are spinning. Trust in me. And then as he's saying that, the snake is wrapping around to squeeze you. No difference here. Nico just put it a lot more eloquently and broke down the complexities. But one of the things I said at Adopting Bitcoin, when I spoke to, addressing specifically to workers, and obviously that's my mission, is to help workers find Bitcoin, is, what do you own outside of the system? What is that conference is called? Davos.
Yeah.
The pronunciation, the Davos. Those people, I said when I spoke at Adopting Bitcoin, I said to the crowd, who here can get a US senator on the phone within 5 minutes? Raise your hand. I'll give you a million sats. If you can do it right now, get them on FaceTime. Obviously, no one can. None of us can. The people at that conference can. And the people at that conference, they control all the assets that you think are yours: real estate, even gold, equities, the stuff in the 401k. And so if they coordinate and want to, they will make those things behave what is in their best interest. Obviously, with self-custody Bitcoin, they cannot do that. They cannot alter that. They can't change the supply. They can try to manipulate the market as a whole, but that asset is going to remain intact in your possession. So we can play out a lot of what ifs, going back to when they confiscated gold. How would they do that? In which way? Just remember, if a custodian is telling you to trust them, you start by looking at them just like Mowgli should have looked at Ka, the snake. They're wrapping the coil around you. They can do it in tons of different ways. They have all the levers. But if you self-custody Bitcoin, those little eyes that are spinning, they don't. You remember when Mowgli's immune to the snake, and oh no, it's, who's immune to the snake is Shere Khan. He's like, get out of here, dude. Shere Khan's smart, dude. You know what I mean? He's like, dude, come on, bro. I know what you're up to. So self-custody Bitcoin, and don't get hypnotized by Ka the snake, aka any custodian in the world.
Yeah, the Jungle Book reference is really resonating with our audience.
Dom, man. Dom, bro. Holy shit, Dom. Dom has swag. Dom has, with the mustache, with the Jungle Book references. It's too much. It's too much for me to handle. Anyways, guys, before we move on to the news segment, I do want to give a bit of a shout out to our new sponsor, Scott's Build a Mine Bootcamp. Guys, you have to check it out. Literally, he will teach you how to be mining up to 5 million Satoshis per day in Bitcoin mining. All you have to do is just sign up to the free webinar. So I just want to give a shout out to that, and let's move on to numbers. Let's check it out. Here we go. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Have you ever wanted to get into Bitcoin mining and don't know where to start? That's why I want to introduce you to Scott's Build a Mine Bootcamp. He will show you how to build your own Bitcoin mine, how to get the project funded, how to get your facility filled with miners as quickly as possible. With a little luck, and by putting all his techniques and strategies to work that he's developed mining Bitcoin for the last 6 years, you could be mining 5 million Satoshis per day or 0.05 Bitcoin in less than 3 months. On the free webinar, he will give you a high-level roadmap that will help you get on your way to building, owning, and operating your own Bitcoin mining farm. Begin your mining journey today. Register for the free webinar now. Click the link in the description of the video below or contact Scott directly on Telegram using his handle @OfferedScott and learn how to mine those precious Satoshis.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, guys. You get a QR code right now on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Foundation Devices website where you can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet. Remember, guys, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. This is absolutely beautifully designed. It's super easy to use. Put your Bitcoin in cold storage. Remember, guys, not your keys, not your cheese. All right, everybody, let's get to today's news, which is, I said it in the opening monologue a little bit, but to give a little bit of a refresher, I tweeted this out January 8th. I said, Wall Street thinks it will change Bitcoin, but it will be Bitcoin that will change Wall Street. And why am I saying this? Because it's already happening before our eyes. We have VanEck. VanEck is one of the spot Bitcoin ETFs that got approved. I love their ticker. Their ticker is called, literally, it's called HODL, which I think is badass. I think they have the best one, and I believe they also have some of the best commercials as well that we've played. But check out what they're doing. VanEck to donate 5% of its Bitcoin ETF profits to support Bitcoin core developers. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Wall Street is now funding the development of Bitcoin. And I know a lot of Bitcoiners are going to be like, this is whatever. Sucks. This is just kind of weird. Like this. Look, guys, if you want hyper Bitcoinization, Bitcoin is the money of enemies. This was a path that was always going to be crossed. This was a bridge that was always going to be crossed. I think that the spot Bitcoin ETFs are a Trojan horse for self-custody down the road. Once people realize that, hey, I don't have to be paying fees if I just take self-custody of my Bitcoin. So I think it's a step in the right direction. And the fact that Wall Street is giving back a percentage of the profits, specifically in VanEck's situation, they're giving back 5%. I think it's a big deal. Let me read some of the details. It says, we're not Bitcoin tourists at VanEck. We're in it for the long haul. That's why we made an initial $10,000 donation and signed a pledge to donate 5% of our Bitcoin ETF profits to support Bitcoin core devs for at least 10 years. We also know that investing in Bitcoin is difficult due to its newness and volatility, among other risks. This is why we scream for investors to dollar cost average, start right away small, but dollar cost average over time and hold on for dear life, or HODL, right? They're shilling their own ticker. Last, we put our money where our mouth is by providing the biggest seed capital of any ETF, about 72 million at the time. A similar pledge by VanEck was made in October last year when the company announced its plans to donate, I don't like this part, 10% of its profits from its Ether futures ETF to Ethereum developers. So I'm not a fan of the last part, but I am a really big fan of this part. And why are they giving more to ETH? What the fuck is up with that? Whatever. It's a good start, I guess. But it's also not only VanEck. Bitwise will donate 10% of its Bitcoin ETF profits to Brink, OpenSats, and the Human Rights Foundation. So shout out to Odell, OpenSats, and shout out to all the other Bitcoiners that are part of that. Shout out to Alex Gladstein, CK, totally deserve it. This is crazy. Bitwise will be donating 10% of its profits from its Bitcoin ETF to OpenSats, the Human Rights Foundation, and Brink, all split evenly for the next 10 years. It goes on to say, Bitcoin was launched 15 years ago without a fundraise. It is maintained by a dedicated community of open source developers who work tirelessly to improve Bitcoin's security, scalability, and usability. They're the unsung heroes. All Bitcoin investors benefit from this open source work, but it is difficult for any one investor to pick up the bill. With the recurring donation, I'm assuming that's their ticker, the BITB creates a strong alignment between Bitcoin investors and the strength of the underlying open source infrastructure. We selected Bitcoin Brink, OpenSats, and Human Rights Foundation, fantastic nonprofit organizations with established track records, to receive and allocate BITB's recurring donations. The donations have no strings attached and will be made annually for at least the next 10 years. Bitwise first filed for a spot Bitcoin ETF 5 years ago. Today is a milestone we do not take lightly. Our vision and hope for BITB is to be the ETF this space deserves. If you support this recurring donation to Bitcoin open source development, please help spread the word about BITB. Finally, we want to express gratitude to the developers, researchers, builders, educators, investors, and the whole community striving to change the world for the better through Bitcoin. The future is brighter because of you. Now, remember what I talked about in the opening monologue about aligned incentives. And here's a great example of that. If you support the recurring donation to Bitcoin open source development, please help spread the word about BITB. So they're in their good graces. It's like, look, guys, we're giving back to the community. This is why you have to buy the Bitwise ETF, right? And VanEck too. Like, you know, this is what I'm talking about, aligned incentives. This isn't just Wall Street saying, you know what, we love Bitcoin. We got to give back. We got to say all the right things and all the right wording and all the right thing. No, they're basically trying to incentivize people, right? And Rave Elevator says it perfectly. Sounds like a tax write-off donation. Exactly. So I don't believe the reasonings, but this is another example of aligned incentive structures doing what aligned incentive structures do. And in an aligned incentive structure, everyone wins, right? Unlike the fiat incentive structure where an elite few benefit, the party of Davos, the World Economic Forum elite, right? And then everyone else, you know, is not invited to the party. Bitcoin, everyone benefits equally, right? So Michael Saylor, you know, with his hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, and, you know, the pleb that has 0.05, they're going to benefit equally from that gain. And let's say they wanted to buy Bitcoin, both of them, they have to pay the same price, right? Michael Saylor doesn't get special treatment. So it is a much, much fairer system, despite what politicians like Elizabeth Warren have to say about it. So anyways, I mean, like, it's cool. Like, my stance is this, like, shout out to VanEck and shout out to Bitwise. But at the same time, like, I know they're not doing this, you know, to support the community. I think they're doing this to get customers, to show good faith. And I think they're doing this to protect their bags, right? They benefit from Bitcoin development, but this is aligned incentives doing what aligned incentives do. So anyways, we're going to start off with the Dom. I'm really excited to hear what reference he's going to use this time.
Sure, I'll drop another movie reference if I can. So again, I think as Wall Street gets into this game, we're going to see a lot of double-edged swords, and, you know, a lot of good things that are wrapped in maybe dangerous bad things. I see in some of the comments, of course, people are throwing out that it's self-serving, a tax write-off, that they're trying to set up, you know, influence to better to be able to better influence Bitcoin Core and developers, etc. You just assume that everything like that is true. I'll give a movie reference here: Dodgeball, Globo Gym, dude. The evil gym that wants to take over all the gyms, and then you have what's the one, Little Joe's or Joe's Gym or whatever. It's like the local for the everyday folks. You got to just assume these things are true, but take advantage of the gift that's been dropped. As I learn more about the protocol, I learned that the maintenance and upkeep and the work that goes on behind the scenes, with every layer I peel back to learn more about Bitcoin, I'm like, wow, there's a ton of work here. And it's strengthening that work when you have core developers that can dedicate more time to keeping Bitcoin running uninterrupted and the strongest decentralized network in the world that's only getting bigger. So these things are kind of like weaving in. It's on us to learn more, engage more, participate more, and prevent those things that we think could be attached to these good gestures. And we have to just monitor those, assume that they can be a real possibility, and do our part to prevent them from, tainting this beautiful thing that we have, that's Bitcoin.
100%. And that's going to happen, guys. But, someone, Opti, could you pull up that last comment? Because I think it's by Jess Everything. It says, I'll trust mutual self-interest more than I'll trust most things. And this is a phenomenon that you'll see over and over and over and over and over and over again happen in Bitcoin. And this is what I'm talking about, aligned incentives. Once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. We had another comment by Paula G. It says ETF Venek sounds self-serving. It totally is. But we had someone respond saying, doesn't matter why they donate, they strengthen Bitcoin. However, right? They did say no strings attached, but Wall Street, I don't really trust that. So I really agree with Dom's perspective that we really have to be aware of, is it really no strings attached? Right, because I don't forget the fork wars, right? The fork wars are literally the strongest corporations in Bitcoin, the largest Bitcoin, not only one of the largest Bitcoin miners, but also the largest ASIC manufacturers, Bitmain and Jihan, tried to make the blocks bigger, therefore making the network less decentralized because it would raise the resource requirements to run a node, right? So yeah, I mean, we won the fork wars, right? The community, the people won the fork wars, but we have to remain ever so vigilant. I love that. I love that take, Dom. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this, bro?
Yeah. Well, first off, of course, like on the surface, this sounds great. There's countless stories of open source developers in Bitcoin that either aren't paid well or can barely pay for their living and have to go find fiat jobs. So, I really do like the initiative. But of course, there is a real concern about co-opting Bitcoin and shipping code that hurts users. And like that should be a real concern. I love the cynicism and the skepticism from everyone. But going through OpenSats, I know the guys over at OpenSats, like Odell's an advisor. Shouts out to Ben. He's a great dude. Gigi's on the board. So the Bitwise donations of this, I think is going to be absolutely beneficial for Bitcoin in general, because the guys over at OpenSats are doing great work. And I'm pretty sure that they will pick some good projects to send money to and some good developers. So to me, I do like the initiative, even though I am kind of concerned about if there will be strings attached and what's going on. And then on the self-serving stuff, guys, self-interest is good. We are all self-interested in Bitcoin surviving because we need it to store our value moving through space and time. And of course, we are all self-interested in making sure that our nodes are verifying the Bitcoin network and the rules that we run. So I don't think that we should really frame this as, self-interest is bad, because, I keep thinking of the Wall Street movie reference, greed is good. We are all here to see Bitcoin store value through time and space. So I absolutely love this. And to be completely fair to the ETF issuers, getting Bitcoiners to support your ETF is good for that product. So this isn't just them being, completely I'm blanking on the word benevolent here, and they're just like, oh, we're doing this for the good of the Bitcoin network. It's like, no, we're all self-interested in making sure that Bitcoin does strengthen, that Bitcoin does go up in value, and that Bitcoin does survive the long route. So of course would love and support the idea of these ETFs donating to open source developers, because if you guys have been here for a while, you guys know that open source development is really like an unsung job. You know, there is no one that pays you directly unless you are a part of a project, and you're really just building a reputation so that you can continue to work on Bitcoin and hopefully get some of these donations yourself, because, you know, it's really value for value coding. And there's so many stories that I've come across of open source developers that have to leave Bitcoin because they just can't pay the bills. And so, you know, love to see this, would really love to see more Bitcoin ETFs do the same thing, because again, we're all self-interested in seeing Bitcoin succeed. And this shouldn't be something that we take as a bad thing. Like, I am self-interested in seeing Bitcoin succeed. There's no shame in this. Like, you know, I think Bitcoin is the best way to store value, and I run the code that I want to run. And, you know, if they do ship some bad code, like, don't update your node right away. This is why you have to run your own node. And guys, you can check the link in the video description. I recommend the Start 9. That's the one that I use personally. The server pure, it's badass. It's a workhorse. It's amazing. Definitely recommend Start 9. You could also just download the Start 9 operating system on an old computer, right? You have absolutely no excuse to run a node at this point. Because if you don't run a node, you don't have a vote, really. You don't have a vote of which Bitcoin software you want to run, of which Bitcoin software you do want to run. So anyways, I do want to give a Dom.
Yeah. I was only going to say one more thing along the lines of running the node, you know, and what Opti and you guys were saying. The best defense to that is continuing to learn about Bitcoin, the network, the protocol, the fundamentals. Every day I realize like how naive I am on that aspect of Bitcoin. And of course, I love jumping in about the ETF and talking about this, like how, you know, the power plays and the big global, you know, outlook about who's going to get into Bitcoin and the sovereign wealth funds and who's mining and the war theories and all that stuff. But all of us have so much to learn on the network, the protocol, and the history, the inner workings of that. And the more time we dedicate to learning about that, it forms like a natural defense against these bad actors that may or may not be trying to influence Bitcoin. And so, like, you know, again, echoing your guys' comments about running a node, learning more, getting engaged, you know, studying the bit process, and just like learning about these things is really valuable to any of these perceived threats.
100%. Completely agree with that. Guys, I do want to give a very special shout out to our sponsors. So first, Bitcoin evangelism. We have to orange pill 10 million people, right? You know, we have to get that intransigent minority in the United States or worldwide. We have to orange pill people. We have to wake them up to the fiat politics scheme, the game. It's not red versus blue. It's the party of orange versus the party of green. Bitcoin Evangelism by Brian DeMint is an absolute beast of a resource for orange pilling no coiners and altcoiners alike. So if you have that mom, that uncle, that brother, that father that's still like, you know, Bitcoin is terrible, it's fake money, it doesn't make sense, get them a copy of Bitcoin Evangelism, Planting Seeds for a Decentralized Revolution. Also, we were showing you in the beginning, one of our ads was talking about Scott's Build a Mine Bootcamp. Well, where are you going to buy those miners? They're the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. You could scan the QR code on your screen right now. It will take you directly to their Telegram marketplace, and you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing Bitcoin mining ASICs easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining ASICs with them. They have a vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell with them. What are you waiting for? Start your mining journey today. Check out their racks. Check out Kaboom Racks. All right, everybody, let's hit the culture. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out. Here we go.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today.
Let's go. All right, Dom, the man, the myth, the legend. Let's just start for those that aren't familiar with what proof of workforce is, and then we'll go into some updates. So again, guys, Dom, what exactly are you working on at Proof of Workforce?
Yeah, so Proof of Workforce is a nonprofit. It's a 501c4, and our mission is to find the Bitcoiners in any workplace or workplace organization and provide them with free resources to help orange pill, whether it be their union, their workplace, their organization, etc. That's our mission. Last year, we got 3 unions to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet, all starting from a place of self-custody, which was huge. Starting with Santa Monica Firefighters made history in being the first union to self-custody Bitcoin in the country. We have an incredible board with a lot of depth in the space. We, we'll travel to go talk to organizations. We'll talk at union meetings. We'll talk to pension funds. And it's really important for us, all the things we talked about on this show, to approach them as a no strings attached. We have no product. We sell no product. And we want to educate organizations to take their own steps towards Bitcoin. But we really want to teach them about self-custody Bitcoin and the importance of what it means, Bitcoin, the network, even if we are talking to a pension fund that says, hey, the only way we can get into Bitcoin is through an ETF. That's all that's set up right now. Okay, that may be their path. But please, let's talk about self-custody and let's talk about Bitcoin, because even pension funds have fallen to the sword of the Wall Street giants. Just look at the financial crisis in 08 and have been, butchered as far as their holdings and what they represent. And so it's really important to understand Bitcoin, why it exists out of the system, why it was created. That's our mission at Proof of Workforce. We're already ripping in 2024, but we do depend on anyone out there to help spread the word. Tell people that in different industries, whether they're electricians, firefighters, police officers, nurses, teachers. These are all people that trade their time for money. And unfortunately, a lot of time that money does not hold up over time and they lose. So we want to help them win and find Bitcoin, just like all of us on this show have found it.
Love it, bro. Love it. Okay. And you mentioned the ETF. So I do want to get to what the response has been from pension funds and stuff, but you already mentioned it. So what, should people in pensions just be buying the spot Bitcoin ETF, or should they be custodying their Bitcoin? What's been the feedback on that point, and what's your thoughts on that?
So first off, just the overall perception of Bitcoin, I tweeted out a while ago that I think that pensions are going to be a slow moving ship when it comes to the ETF. I think a lot of family wealth offices and, funds that are privately managed are going to be the first to move on those. We got to remember, despite all these big Wall Street players now putting out commercials, these same people that own a majority of the mainstream media have been hammering Bitcoin for at least a decade. And I'm sure if you tally up the amount of negative press on Bitcoin versus positive press, it must be overwhelming. And so naturally, pension fund managers, they've been told for 10 years, this thing's bad. It's a scam. It's no good. It's FTX. It's Celsius. It's all the negative stuff. It's like your career risk is through the roof. You're a clown if you even mention this or have someone talk about it. Now there's a commercial saying that, oh, this is the future and this is hope. whoa, like that's going to punch a lot of fund managers in the face, and they're still going to be very distant. So in my conversations with different pension fund folks, they're still hesitant. They're not sold yet by these massive, Wall Street giants all of a sudden doing a 180 on how they look at Bitcoin. I think that'll take time, but of course there's an opportunity there to teach them about Bitcoin. And so I think we have some time before they jump in. Why they should put it on the balance sheet, for all the reasons we know and love, right? It is outside of the system. It is low risk. The asymmetrical upside is through the roof. There's more to it than just an asset, even though Larry Fink, and every time he talks now, he really wants you to focus that this is an asset, and he wants you to forget that this is the most powerful decentralized network on the planet. But we're not going to forget. And we're going to make sure the pension funds learn this and don't ever forget either. And so I think there's a lot of benefit if you're a pension fund and your mission is to protect the priceless time that's been, contributed by workers so that they can retire. You want to make sure that you have some kind of allocation to something that cannot be taken. Nico mentioned it about the confiscation thing. Who knows what can happen, but also something that can't be taken from like a slow bleed type of loss. And it's easy when the shit hits the fan, like in the financial crisis, to go, how do we balance this fiat ledger after this calamity? I know. Nico and Opti, y'all, we're going to retire at 57. Let's push that to 65. What's 8 years to us? I don't care. We just up in Wall Street at the racquetball club. We don't care if you have to work an extra 7 years. And if you die during those 7 years at work instead of retiring, God bless. Hopefully you leave a little something to the folks. They ask cities for more money into the pension funds. They say, hey, Opti and Nico, we need a bigger chunk of your salary, your take-home salary. Forget about what you're saving towards. We need that to balance the ledger. And it's easy. Someone was joking on there and said that my movie reference was for ants, but it's easy to take a couple little crumbs from ants on an aggregate level than to take from the rich and powerful at a big scale, to take someone who has, $500 billion in wealth and say, we're going to take 100 billion. That person is going to do everything in their power to wreck you. And fight that. So it's easy to take from the ants. That's us, the people that work every day, trade our time for money. So I know I went on a little bit of a rant there.
No, not at all, bro. This is what the show is about. This is the whole, to give you a platform, because these projects are just so important. Bitcoin is middle class money. Like Bitcoin is, because think about it. For the first time in human history, the workers, lower class, middle class people, you have the ability to earn into money and save into money that can't be debased and can't be confiscated. I mean, it's the same thing. Debasement, confiscation, it's really the same thing, but it protects the little guy. It protects the everyday person. And that's what, to me, that's what's so special about Bitcoin, really. So no, Dom, I do not accept your apology. I wish your rant was 5-10 minutes longer.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm passionate about it. I love to see workers win. I think everyday people, right? That's all of us. And, it's really important to help them find that. Things have heated up a little bit, and now guess what? Wall Street is trying to find people too, and they're using their power and tools, but we have more numbers than they do. We interact with people face to face more than they do through the television, through the computer, through your iPhone, and we can help spread this word and actually defeat them, even though we don't have the same resources. So again, we take the good from what Wall Street is doing with the ETF. It's get off zero is the name of the game. And if that means that an ETF is the only way that an organization or a pension can get off zero, great. But us will be right there at that point to go, okay, hey, boom, like wake up and look at this thing that's going on. Look at Bitcoin, look at how they're trying to use it, and at least understand that, like, how Bitcoin works, and the fact that you are buying shares of a fund where other people own the most magical part of the thing that they're trying to get you to invest in. They own that, you don't. So why don't you see if there's a way for you to own that magical thing that they're selling you? You know what I mean? So they're selling you the beanstalk without the beans. Another reference there. I don't know if there's a movie on Jack and the Beanstalk, but
Yeah,
Love it. Wait, one more question.
Wait.
Actually, a few more questions.
We got a comment. And then we'll go back to Opti's question. So, Simply Bitcoin, love the show as always. Tell the plebs to smash the like. It's easy and free to do. Absolutely, guys. If you are enjoying the show, make sure to smash that like button. We're at 100 and almost at 150 likes on YouTube. We're at 5 likes on Rumble. Rumble's got to step up their game. We got 41 viewers live on Rumble. Guys, smash the like button. It really, really helps with the algos. And we got about 27, 30 viewers on Twitter. So if you're enjoying the show, enjoying the live stream, make sure to smash that like button. Of course, guys, if you've missed the show, you're on the go, you can't watch the video version for whatever reason, make sure to check out the podcast version of this show. You can find us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Fountain. You can stream us stats on Fountain. So yeah, guys. Anyways, Opti.
Yeah. So
the Dom.
You were basically a first mover on this idea, and it seems to be catching on. We even saw Kathy Wood talking about this. What's your thoughts on what Kathy Wood's been saying lately?
Yeah, I tweeted out for Kathy Wood to make her first call to the Chicago Pension Fund when I read an article when I read her tweet about that said that here it is. Profits from Chicago's first casino lower than expected, jeopardizing future pension funding. Whoa. So the casino's not doing as well. Actual casino is not doing as well as we thought. And now you may have to work a couple years longer. Maybe you'll pitch in more of your money. We'll figure it out. Sorry for that. Crazy stuff. So she's got her work cut out for her. I'm happy to see them reaching out to pension funds. We'll be right there. The minute we see a pension fund jump on board with the ETF, we'll be working triple time to try to at least get them as much education as possible as to what Bitcoin is, where the value is in holding Bitcoin in self-custody, exploring ways that pensions can one day do this. Maybe they build in-house systems similar to like what MicroStrategy, what I've heard that they've done in building in-house, ways to custody this. So it's awesome. I love to see it. And, our focus is heavily on the participants of the pension and getting them to self-custody Bitcoin and the unions that make up the pension participants. And I think over time, if these pensions don't come around, they're going to start finding that there's a lot of people chirping up from the participation side saying, what are you doing? Why is our pension down? When even I now have found this incredible thing that is helping to protect my retirement. And if they aren't careful, there may be a group of workers one day, I don't know when, that go, we're going to opt out of this system and form a retirement system based on Bitcoin. Who knows? Anything can happen.
Let's go. All right, guys, I heard you in the chat, so I cut Nico off. He's no longer on the show anymore. No, but Dom, okay. Last question, and it's really more of future projections. What do you got in the works? Do you have any big names about to drop? Like any new news stories, and maybe also like what's your game plan for 2024?
Yeah, so 2024, we're talking to a handful of unions. I got a couple of good ones on the East Coast. One in Jersey, that would be awesome. I just like, if I can go to Jersey and talk to a union about Bitcoin, like what a treat. I see from the crowd, my hat. This is a Warriors hat. It has nothing to do with 2024. They're struggling on the record now, so they need all the help they can get. And then so we're going to be talking to as many unions as we can, pension funds. I think on the docket, BitBlock Boom, I might be talking there. So I know y'all are going to be there. So that would be awesome. Shout out to Gary Leland. It's such an epic conference. Nashville's coming up, of course. And anytime speaking at these conferences, want to try to get workforce organizations to attend, learn, and hear a message targeted at them. So it's boots on the ground. I'm probably going to try to do less conference stuff and more going to talk to any any union, any workplace organization, I will walk, drive, horseback, fly there by any means necessary. We will get the resources to you. We will support you bringing forward a proposal to get your group off of zero. We have resources. We'll make it happen. So we're going to continue we are a nonprofit. So we'll try to find on the business side people to support our efforts. And we are going to orange pill. I set a goal for 100, no less than 100 unions to onboard Bitcoin for 2024. And
Let's go.
yeah, we will make it happen by any means necessary.
Let's go. Hey, Dom, we do have a comment in here. Someone on Twitter, Greg Hoffmeister, he says, I have a friend who works on Massachusetts Pensions Fund. He told me they are looking into BTC ETFs, would love to connect with Baywatch. So if people want to reach out, where's the best place for them to reach out to?
So we have proofofworkforce.org. There's a little intake form that goes right to the email. We'll respond to everyone's email. Y'all can always message the Proof of Workforce Twitter handle, which is Workforce BTC. And or you can message me directly on Twitter. My handle's Baywatch1, spelled with my name, BEI, not Baywatch like the show. Long story to that. I think I told it on the last show. But reach out with those three platforms and we will get back. We will give you as many resources as we possibly can, and we will help craft a proposal to give you the best shot at your organization. If it's a pension, whatever you think is best and whatever you kind of contact you have, we'll follow up and we'll make it happen.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, dude, it's an honor to have you on the show, Dom, and this is such an incredible, project that you've undertaken. I had the privilege to be able to produce some of the one of the Nakamoto portfolio shows that you were doing over at the Swan Channel, and just seeing you guys with Hoffa and the I forget what the name of the website is, but just breaking
NakamotoPortfolio.com.
NakamotoPortfolio.com, and just breaking it down to these people that are in charge of the pensions. And it was the second show with the older gentleman, and these guys that they've been working their entire lives. They have no idea that Bitcoin provides a solution. It provides that sense of stability, that sense of you're good if you just allocate a small percentage. It doesn't have to be like Nico Opti 130%, but it could just be a small percentage point. And just because Bitcoin does its thing, you allocate 3, 4, 5% of your pension to Bitcoin, it could actually outperform the rest of your pension. And that's what people don't understand, right? So, I think you're doing Satoshi's work. It's an honor to have you on the show as always. And this is so incredibly important, ladies and gentlemen. So if any pensions, any fire stations, anything that you're thinking about that, check out proofofwork.org, connect with @Baywatch1 on Twitter. That's Dom's Twitter handle. Send him a DM. And I'm sure that he'll take it from there. So
hey, Nico, can I chime in here?
Of course.
Shouts out to Dom. And this is why we do our show as well. There are Bitcoiners that are only focused on high net worth individuals, and of course, I'm not shaming them, and there's a lane for everyone. But I also am very focused on just reaching the everyday person, and that's why we do what we do. I remember before I had Bitcoin, there was no hope for life, and I try to communicate as much as possible to my parents and my friends so that they can also escape the rat race, or at least have a little bit for themselves. And I just love what you're doing, Dom, because you say it all the time. You're just trying to reach everyday people and ensure that they have something to hold on to moving forward, because the safety nets that are out there are most likely not going to be the safety net that they believe it will be.
100%. I 100% agree with that statement. Anyways, guys, this is a great show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I want to give a very, very special shout out. Thanks, Opti. I want to give a very special shout out to our guest, the Dom Bay. Dom, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Guys, you could follow him at Baywatch1. And you can send him a Twitter DM. So Dom, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Since a couple people called me an asshole for cutting Opti off, I'm gonna let Opti close out the show today. I'm gonna cut myself off.
No. Oh, man. All right. I thought my job was done for the day. No, guys, like, share, subscribe. We love every single one of you guys. We appreciate all the support. We appreciate you guys all talking in the YouTube chat, even all the haters. Thank you for the engagement. It means a lot to us on YouTube. But it's not just about us here on Simply Bitcoin.
Keep commenting.
It's not about just us here at Simply Bitcoin. Spread all the Bitcoin signal to every single person out there. Like, share, subscribe. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow at 12:15 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, on Twitter, on Rumble. We are on Anchor. We love you guys. Have a good rest of your day. Peace out. Until next time.